call to order the Ordinance Review Committee meeting for August of 2024. Nobody here for public comments. You've got the minutes from last month's meeting, very abridged, but it's the minutes from last month's meeting. No, I didn't have a chance to email it out to everybody. I got it in front of you. If they just want to take a second to look over it, see if everything's right. I'm sure it is because I watched the video to do it. If everything's okay, I can get a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, we got the agenda in front of you for tonight. Again, it's pretty basic of what we're going over here tonight. Does anybody want to make any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, I am going to amend it under ordinance review discussion. I'm going to add E and put park rental.
Park rental.
Yes. And I'll explain that when we get to that point.
That's fine.
So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? A second?
I'll second.
Second, Sarah, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's move on to business here now. All right, first thing I just want to tell everybody, I apologize for us not being up to speed as well as we should. This has been a tough year for me. I've had a lot going on. So that's an email from Jeremy there.
I got 2 copies.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I wrote that one.
I'm missing mine.
Okay.
I was just going to pull up my email when we got to that point. But I'm missing mine, so perfect. Thank you. So I want to apologize for us not getting stuff done as much as we should have. I can sit here with excuses all day long, so I got a bunch of them. But plain and simple fact is we're gonna move a little bit better with these from now on and get going with everything. So once again, I apologize. We had to cancel last month's meetings. I had a personal issue come up, and we should have been together a little bit more than we have been. But regardless, let's get rolling with this and get some of this stuff taken care of. Sarah worked on the parking ordinance, came through and sent that to me. Unfortunately, not long after Sarah sent the ordinance out, I started getting questioned by the mayor about a few other changes, which is what that email is we just saw there.
Mhm.
There's a few other changes that have been brought up to his attention that have to deal with parking. And of course, the one thing that we already talked about at this point, he didn't know that we've already talked about that definition of commercial vehicle. So we've got that down and we're okay with that. But the 2 concerns that came partially from the deputies on it is the 30-foot parking distance from an intersection. They don't like that being said that way because there's a lot of parking spots. We were at the town center area and the condos that are labeled parking spots that are within 30 feet distance. So they're asking about changing that. Now I know you have an issue with that in general because you don't like the 30-foot where that one truck parks. And so the question comes up is, do we feel that 30-foot is something that is a safety issue? And if we need to define this any differently or any better, should we come in and say something like 30-foot and less designated parking spaces are there or something of that way? Which way do we want to do it? Do we want to change it to less than 30 feet?
Can we say we'll leave it at 30 feet unless otherwise designated?
Yeah, I think that's good.
I have a feeling that 30 feet is probably a standard issue. There's got to be a reason behind it. Nobody really seemed to know. I did a little bit of checking from talking with, hey, when this was done, was there any particular reason on it? I don't know if that's standard throughout other towns with parking you want to stay away from.
I thought that was when we were going through and looking at that. I thought that was in the state.
The state DOT one, I was thinking of that as well too.
I'm pretty sure we used it because of that.
Yeah, so.
So I think you do have that issue though. You got to put where you have parking spaces and.
Do you
Yeah.
have to have a foot increment at all? Like, can you not just say because should be marked off if it's not.
If there's no parking spaces, not parking.
This is just like regular streets without the parking, well, with parking in front of them, but without parking spots. Those are, you're supposed to be 30 foot from that. That stops you from,
Gotcha.
Having cars
That makes sense.
closer up.
I was gonna say
So,
the parking spot.
If you have a parking spot
Mhm.
painted down, that's designated as a parking spot.
Correct.
So that's why I'm saying just otherwise designated. leaves that room there to allow those.
That 10 foot is dangerous, because as you're approaching an intersection, you have to stop, you have to look both ways. And if there's a car parked within 10 feet, that doesn't give you much room to be able to see around that
it.
parked car. Conversely, coming into an intersection, into a street, turning, and you're immediately gonna see the front end of a car. And it doesn't give you time to compensate and pull over.
Mhm.
So that 30 feet is there for a reason.
So what if we like cut it in half and did 15 or 20?
I don't know that we should change it at all, to be honest with you. I think 15 or 20 would probably be sufficient if everybody was driving the speed limit.
Yeah.
But when people are
Well,
going
and if
faster,
everybody stopped at stop sign.
stop sign, yeah, all that, yeah,
all
it's just giving you that extra view there. I have a feeling if we go down in it, it probably, chances are nothing will happen, but I certainly don't want to be.
I don't just leave it 30 feet and just put in less, like you and Jim are saying, there's parking spaces and that's fine.
So,
Nobody measures it. So,
well, you do.
well, I do, but it's 30 feet, I didn't go measure it. It looks like it's 25 to me, but I'm not gonna measure it. So,
Well, and having it 30 foot keeps it where, I mean, if it's 10 or 15 foot, then, you know.
then
It
it's gonna
becomes
be
5 feet,
Right,
10
right,
feet.
like, oh, okay, he's looking at it, so it's agreed, we think the best thing to do is to keep it at 30 foot. However, put in something with the, where it says unless designated by parking stripes. Parking
Unless-
markers,
Unless otherwise
Otherwise designated.
designated.
Otherwise,
would that be good enough for people to understand?
I think so.
All right, so can you work that in there? Then the next thing comes to RV parking. Now, we had a situation where we had a resident that was loading up and cleaning out and loading up his RV to go on vacation. He lives on Mimosa and he had to park that on Mimosa, and the deputy came by and said, hey, you can't park that here. Well, I'm getting it ready to go. That's, just doing this to do that. So should we work in there somewhere with temporary parking? And they did specifically ask us if we did that to put a time limit, not just say, for temporary purposes, but a 2, 3, 4 hour.
I thought,
We had 3 days.
I was gonna say 24 hours, but I thought we had something inside there, inside the.
We're working
Nothing I could find in it. I looked through it. I thought there was something in it too, and I looked through it.
There's
Was there
nothing
any
for
answer?
like temporary parking?
Is that the HOA that has something in there, Jim?
It
For
might
parking in
be
your
HOA
car.
has it for in the driveway, we can park it for 24 hours in the driveway.
No, but I thought we had something. I know we talked about it.
I think we talked about it, but it didn't go anywhere with it. I looked through it, couldn't find it. You're more than welcome to look through there
Okay.
and see if you see anything on it. But I don't think that's unreasonable to give people a little bit of time.
HOA, not longer than 1 day.
I thought the HOA had.
Yeah.
I agree, you give them some time, right?
Yeah, I mean,
A lot of places can't get in the drive, so you give them some time to go by and.
yeah, supposedly the way this gentleman's house was, he couldn't get it into the driveway the way the house is without driving on his neighbor's yard, going across, because, Mimosa's pretty narrow now. I would have hoped, and I think we also still need to put in there, that even though it's temporarily parked, it still has to leave was it the 6 foot, or no, what's the 14 foot? How much room you have to leave?
14 in it. for
Yeah, so it's 14 feet that we have to,
That was 12.
12?
That was 12.
Whatever it is, we need to make sure, it's not excluded from that. And if you can't fit your RV in your road and still leave 12 foot for something else to pass by, well then, you're just gonna have to figure something else out. We can't, because again, how that 2 hours turns to 3, 3 turns to 4, 4 turns to 5, and, a fire engine or ambulance needs to get by.
Yeah.
So we can't block it, we gotta still leave, whatever the spaces we have, we gotta make sure we leave that in there too.
We think a couple hours is enough? Because I think you're right, it's gonna turn into more anyways, if you're not careful.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's gonna be more so, and,
Well, but I mean, even in the situation where somebody's passing by, they're headed to the beach, like, they may not just be there for like 2 hours. So like, how can you say like, oh, you can only come and visit family for 2 hours? So like, for me, like, I was like 4 to 6, I feel is
I
not
think people with
too bad.
RVs are kind of used to if they're going to go visit somebody, a lot of them go to Walmart, park in Walmart, and have somebody pick them up from there. They're very used to that because of the restrictions, and sometimes they just don't like driving in there and, you know, in the tight neighborhoods and
Mhm.
tight roads driving it. So it is something they're used to doing with that.
Right,
You know, just because of the situation.
yeah, but I'm also thinking like too, like some of these RVs are pretty big.
Mhm.
So if you're unloading it, like if you come back from a trip and you're unloading it and then you need to clean it, like that's gonna take a good amount of time. Like just to get everything out, like then you have to organize, you know, like, and yes, you know.
Most
obviously you
people,
have to be
again,
diligent, but
from what I know of people that I've known that own RVs, most people bring it to their house just to load up. And then they take it to their RV lot wherever they store it, and that's where they clean it and do all the rest of it. You know, like the little storage place up
Yeah.
here where they do that, they have places and areas for them because of that. But again, I'm sure it would be nice to do that, so, I mean, we think 4 hours is sufficient. You know, 2, 3, or 4 is what they
I
ask.
I think 4 is too many.
I think you give them 3, they're gonna take 4, so.
Yeah, that's what I,
You know? And it's
I think
not,
if you give them 4, they're gonna take 5 or 6.
again, if somebody's minding their own business and not causing any issues and moving it in a timely manner and all, they're not gonna give them a ticket for anything. If they're 5 minutes over or whatever, they're gonna work with them. It's, you know, it's a safe gap to have something there, so that it's easier for the resident.
I'm good with whatever everybody wants.
well,
to
and
do.
I think, I mean, again, too, like realistically, how many problems are we gonna have with this? Like, do we?
Very few.
Right, so that's why I'm like, you know, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things, like, I don't, it really doesn't matter, I just was trying to be a little nicer to them, to
Before then,
whatever works, that's fine.
I'm fine either way. to be honest
So
with you.
I've had an RV,
Mhm.
and granted, I've never, outside of Montero, I've never lived in a car. It's always been open and having almost 2 acres of land all the time. But if I didn't have my RV there, I'd bring it in, I'd load it, whatever I needed, and we'd leave in the morning. So it was always sitting in my yard for a certain amount of time,
Mhm.
and always more than 4 hours.
Right,
And when you're cleaning it out, you're cleaning things out. You'll use all the 4 hours to do that if you're doing the job right. And I know
Right.
there are other places do have that because there's more planned communities than there are.
No,
right.
Yeah,
well, and
So-
again, we're not saying that it can be parked, like, that's not changing,
Right.
you know, or anything like that, this is just like a temporary to give it, again, for the deputies to be able to do their job a little easier, like to say, okay, well, I passed by this at 10 AM, so at 1 PM, you know, whether it's 2, 3, whatever, 4 hours. Okay, I need to go and tell them they need to move it,
I say we just go for
I'm good with that.
that's fine.
it. All right.
Okay, so in the, underneath prohibitions of other miscellaneous vehicles. Talks commercial vehicle, dump truck, excursion passenger vehicle. I'm assuming that would be an RV.
I mean, RV is a recreational vehicle. I don't know what excursion,
Or the excursion passenger vehicle, property hauling vehicle, school bus, school
I was
activity.
gonna say, to me,
bus,
an excursion would be like a bus or
Right, but any type of other passenger or commercial vehicle that exceeds 2 rear axles or 4 tons. Or 4 tons in or on any driveway, street, common area, front, park, alley, provision.
Yeah, I think I-
Temporary parking for loading and unloading of moving vans or trucks, okay, moving vans.
yeah, I think you gotta go with the RV in itself too, because even if excursion vehicle does fall into that, that's the square and rectangle type thing.
Okay,
Because, you know, some RVs are just towed behind campers.
says the parking of any campers or trailers in the rear yard of any single family dwelling. Prohibited.
So
We don't call out RV at all.
if it's tow behind, it needs to still be hooked to the vehicle, right?
Mhm.
Do we have that in there somewhere?
That would be a good point to put in there, because I know the trailers have to be that way,
Yeah,
so
Mhm.
we,
Well, then wouldn't it be under the trailer section? Cause technically,
I don't think it would hurt to throw something in there with that too. That's a good point, Steve. But again, too, if it's just limited to 4 hours, I mean, maybe we'd let them unhook.
I think it creates more issues, because I know you can't have a trailer like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't call out RV at all.
So what if we add a definition for RV? And call it a day, because then that takes rid of the camper, that takes care of the idea of the camper. Because then camper is not
Mhm.
part of that
So
definition.
we don't have anything restricting RVs at all then? Nothing
No,
allowing or restricting?
no, I mean, it's, the only thing that we have is, where'd you go? There you go. Or anything that exceeds 2 rear axles, which I don't know of
I don't think they're gonna, yeah.
any RV that has more than 2 rear axles. I mean, I'm sure there are some stupid ones, but. And then, or 4 tons. For 4 tons. Talking 8,000 pounds, that brings in an RV.
Mhm.
And any driveway, street, common area. Park, front yard, or alley, provided however, the provisions of the section do not apply to the following. Temporary parking for loading and unloading, that's of moving vans. Stopping with other traffic, normal stoppage, taking just charging passengers, stopping standard government vehicles.
Well, the other end of it too is that when we add section 20 into it, of what a commercial vehicle is, a recreational vehicle is listed as a commercial vehicle. So if we're restricting commercial vehicles, then we're restricting RVs. I'm almost positive they're in the definition of that.
But if they're registered as a passenger vehicle,
They usually aren't. I think it's probably because of its weight.
mine are, in Massachusetts, mine are always registered as passenger
Yeah,
vehicles.
I don't think they are here because of the weight.
Okay.
But I mean, I know that with the RV and all that stuff too, because one time the HOA said my camper van was a recreational vehicle. What? A recreation, I looked into it, I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? So. That was somebody that was overzealous at one point, so. I think we're best off throwing it in there with, you know, what RVs, put a definition for an RV and put a statement in there in the parking exceptions. Where you can park an RV for up to 4 hours for loading and cleaning. As long as you're leaving the proper, whatever is 12 or 14 foot, whatever the proper distance, you still have to
12
leave
feet.
that.
Still.
12 feet, okay, as long as the 12 foot's left.
Yeah, you refer that to section
Is that in the,
6C.
is that the same for the moving trucks?
The same for the moving truck, yeah.
Okay, so then I feel like honestly, all you had to do is in that part where it says loading or unloading moving trucks is add an RV.
Add RV into that, okay.
For, you know, moving trucks or RVs.
Yeah, that's what
And
she's
are
talking
you
about.
considering-
I wanna see it.
You're considering campers RVs, right?
I think that's where we have to, we're adding the definition.
In the definition of it.
And so I don't know that we can do campers in there, because isn't that, I mean,
Campers attached to their towing vehicle, I think we'll be okay with. The parking of any campers, trailers in the rear yard, so we got it excluded there.
In the rear yard. It's gotta be out of sight. The HOA takes over, it's gonna be out of sight.
And see, but then the other part is if we just put that in there, is we just throw that in as another part for the moving vans, then we don't have a time constraint on it, and if we restrict the moving van for 4 hours, that might not be enough,
No,
Right.
that's not.
you know?
so a camper would not be a motor vehicle, a commercial motor vehicle. Because while you can have, like, it's more like housing. Because this is more talks about, is designated to or designed to transport 16 or more passengers. You know, it's not transporting anything.
I think that's what we're trying to get is a camper and RV together, right?
Mhm.
But
I don't-
we're
I don't
not-
see that many- I don't see that many RVs, I
Vehicle.
see,
It's not considered a motor vehicle. A camper is, to me, is not considered a motor vehicle.
I see more
Still have it
campers.
restricted for parking though.
Well, but that's where I feel like it would go with the trailer section, not,
So put the camper in a with trailers.
It doesn't have a motor.
yeah, so it's not a motor vehicle.
So we don't need to put anything with campers then if you're considering it a trailer, because trailers are already allowed as long as they're hooked up to the car.
But how long?
I mean, there is a definition in the general statute for a house trailer, any trailer or semi-trailer designed and equipped to provide living or sleeping facilities and drawn by a motor vehicle.
Well, you know what we should do on this then? Table that idea, for right now, and let's ask the attorney. We'll get back to this in December then or so.
I can send it, I can look at it and send you
You
some
wanna look into it,
options
see what you
too.
think?
I can just look at our definitions.
Okay.
I don't have the statute
Okay,
stuff.
let's do that. So let's see what we can work on that, and we'll look at that through the next part. All right, moving
Because the
on.
purpose of that, Joe, is to get it where people can come in with their campers and everything and load and unload.
Load and unload, yeah.
I mean, and not having the cops have to worry about it, right? So it's that, for that purpose.
Yeah, well, but they can park, like, I mean, the yard guys park their trailers with their trucks
But I
while
think,
they're doing the work, you know, that kind of thing, so
I
that
think for
does,
some reason they're following some statute that says they can't do it. Park a camper there. I don't know where they're getting that information from.
I don't know.
But you're right, the yard waste guys, do it, right?
Well, like anybody that, yeah, that does like yard work, like any, you know, lawn service people, they have a trailer attached to their truck and it's parked out in front of the houses.
But that's allowed as long as it's parked, as long as it's hooked up to the.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that I think it just ultimately will need to just stay attached to the vehicle as a camper,
But we don't want somebody, we definitely don't want,
like,
with a can of worms, where somebody can do that in perpetuity. You know, and have somebody living in the camper, you know, on the street. 'Cause that
well, no,
will
but that's
happen.
what I'm saying, is that there's, again, a time limit for those, like, they're not allowed to just leave them there, are they?
You can't, if you're towing a trailer and it's hooked up to a car, you can park it there and move it in and out all the time, anytime. There's no restriction on that whatsoever,
So it can be parked on the street.
as long as it's hooked up to a towing vehicle.
Does it have to be, well, I guess we don't have parking spots everywhere, so that's.
See, so if we just do that with the camper, then they can just leave it there forever, and that would be good.
I mean, it is, you can park out there and sleep in it because it says, well, it
Well,
says-
yeah, we
it
can't-
says sleeping in vehicles, right? You got that, but it's not a vehicle, right? What do you call it? It's just,
I want to look a little bit more into whether it's designated as a vehicle or not, because they still need to be safety inspected through the motor vehicle department.
I think they're registered as a trailer. Not a vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, the way that it is in the general statute says it's a house trailer. That's the definition.
it's actually 12 feet clear. We got that in there.
Right.
So we go more into this and discuss it, or?
Sarah, you can do some stuff,
Mhm.
send it to everybody, and then we can bring it to the next.
We can bring it to the next meeting here.
And I've talked to the attorney, or you can send it to the.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to talk to
attorney.
the attorney on it too. I want to, we'll be talking with the attorney because we do have some stuff to go ahead and move forward with. And I'll go ahead and go to B now, where we got motorcycles and mini bikes. We added that into the skateboard scooter. I didn't print that out for everybody. I've got it up here on the screen though. This is what Steve did. And Steve did a great job on this because he did it very, very basic, which is good for us to review it, and it's also good for the attorney to review it. He added into the name and mini bikes on the ordinance name itself. And then if you look farther down here, I'll show you, I highlighted the areas that he added here. We got, in definitions, mini bikes, any two or more wheels off-highway and motorized, includes either combustion motor or battery powered that can exceed 20 miles per hour recreational vehicle.
I found that somewhere that some other city was using that as their description of minibus.
Mm.
So we've got it where it's not going to prohibit the little small kids' toys. And it's also, it's going to stop people from riding those little pocket rockets on the.
So, two questions. First one, using the term recreational vehicle.
Mhm.
If we're using a recreational vehicle and defining it one way, we can't use it here, defining it another way.
So we just changed the vehicle.
Yes,
Mhm.
can we? I don't know if we use the term vehicle and everything in the definition.
Well, I mean, the thing, it's a motorized vehicle. That's what they are. They're motorized vehicles, so that's the broadest term you have in general. It's a motorized vehicle of some sort.
Motorized,
So really, any two or more wheels off highway and motorized recreational vehicle.
Without the recreation.
Leave that out so they're confused with it or this.
So you say motorized vehicle.
I don't think that's a problem.
I just don't know if we use the term vehicle, define it in any other ordinance.
I think it's self-defining.
That's, I'm just,
Well, that's the thing, it's got an engine, it's a
Yeah.
vehicle. So it doesn't, an engine or a battery.
Right. I don't know if we had something in motor vehicle, term motor vehicle, it might have been motor vehicle that we use that is determined to be.
That would probably be in
statutes,
the parking.
That's all, I just don't want,
But even then, it'd probably be close to what the general statute has.
I mean, if we don't think it needs to be in there, we can remove it, just stop where it says per hour and then put a period.
so. Like I said, all I'm doing is I just don't want to.
Not here, I don't want to confuse it with anything else.
And I think the simplest fix is
Someone
just
will pick it up.
Yeah.
Well, let's pick it up.
But we even say in things like roller skates, non-motorized vehicle, non-motorized vehicle. Skateboards, non-motorized vehicle. Then we say motorized skateboard, non-motorized scooter, motorized power.
So we define it in section 6.
So ultimately, what
We call it a motor vehicle.
we've done is we've gotten so many stupid little subgroups now.
Right.
And really, we just need one general group that contains anything that has a motor. And then you can have your non-motorized.
So motor vehicle is every vehicle which is self-propelled and every vehicle designed to run upon the highways, which is pulled by a self-propelled vehicle. This shall not include mopeds as defined in General Statute Section 20-401, sub 27.
Okay, so what does general statute have for?
That's not me, so
So what do we say definition of a vehicle is? Because that's a motor vehicle.
that's a
right?
motor vehicle. So
We're not saying motor vehicle here, we're saying motorized recreational vehicle.
everything I look up online is, on mini bikes and all, it calls it a recreational vehicle.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Because it's not made to ride on the street. Really.
So we can just,
What did we find a
because
recreational?
we're directly conflicting ourselves.
so if we turn around and said mini bikes is defined by go through recreational vehicle for this ordinance only. So that way we can use it twice. We're defining it just for this ordinance.
So this statute says a motor-driven bicycle, a vehicle with 2 or 3 wheels, a steering handle, 1 or 2 saddle seats, pedals, and a motor that cannot propel the vehicle at a speed greater than 20 miles per hour on a level surface. But it does not include an electric assisted bicycle as defined in subdivision 7A of this section, which I don't know where 7A is.
And what if we change the definition to something of,
And then they have,
any self-propelled device with 2 or more wheels? And, motorized, which includes either combustion or battery powered mode, see, and then just take recreational vehicle off altogether.
That's what
It's called a self-propelled device.
Take recreation vehicle
Does that sound good?
Yes. I think that'll work, but do we need to add in what she said, this is not defined by a bicycle with battery powered bicycle?
well, I think the way
Do they
that they're
run
saying
20 miles
is
an
that
Battery
will,
powered bicycles don't go 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my whole point in this, was I don't want to restrict, kids on these battery powered items from being able to make them ride on the street in a little, the little Barbie dream car that goes 3 miles. an
Yeah,
hour.
right, I
You know?
don't wanna get those, right?
Yeah.
That exceeds 20 miles an hour.
What was the change we want on
It was change it into,
any device.
any self-propelled device.
Yeah.
And Steve, if you could make that change on that, now go down to, I guess I should also go down to where it's stated, which is real easy to add in here. On 10.3, section 10.3, on offenses, added in there 6, which is riding any mini bike on sidewalks at any time. Simple to the point. Questions or comments on that?
You're saying leave line 6 as is?
Yeah, line 6, that's been added, line 6
That's,
is new.
yeah,
Yes.
because we define mini bike up above. what it
Right,
is,
it's
right?
defining it, and then we're saying right there what you can't do with it. That's restricting it right
Those are
there.
goal to keep them off the sidewalk.
That's the restriction right there.
Do we have anything above, and the other two about anything with motors, because everything that's up there is everything that's non-motorized, except for 4.
There is.
We got
there is
motorized
another-
skateboard up
Motorized
above.
skateboard.
Well, I mean, like in 1 or 2,
Yeah, and 2, we got motorized skateboard.
we scroll up.
I have mixed feelings on this one because I see kids riding in the street on their motorcycles. They don't have helmets. They're riding like a bat out of hell. They're danger. You can't see them in the car. They should be on the sidewalk.
They shouldn't be on the sidewalk, and they shouldn't be on the street.
They shouldn't be anywhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not,
Right.
they're made to be off-road. They're not supposed to be
Yeah.
driven on the road.
You take what now, the cops can stop them on the highway because they're not allowed, right?
right.
So that they can ride on the sidewalk. So what we're trying to do with this is give them some permission to stop them on the sidewalk.
Do not ride on it.
You're right, yeah. We're not saying ride them on the street. Saying don't ride them on the sidewalk, because it's already covered in the general statute and they can't ride on the streets.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I believe that law's gotten a little bit stiffer too lately, because it used to be, they could just, if you were 16 or over 16, you could ride a moped without any restriction whatsoever to it. It didn't have to be licensed, it didn't have to be inspected, it didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And now they've changed that, where they have to inspect them and license them.
I would just change it to say riding a mini bike on sidewalks at any time, just to keep
Running
it.
a mini bike,
Because
You
that's
get
the
that,
same
Steve?
as number 2. It's just riding a skateboard, riding,
yeah.
we don't need any. In the first part.
So if we can get that with those changes made, Steve, I'll go ahead and present that one to the attorney. And ask him to look at that, and if he can vote on that at the next meeting. If our meeting is 4 hours or less, if it's over 4 hours. we'll do it.
So wait a minute, you're saying amendment number 3?
No,
Six.
number
Change
6
to
could be
say
like
ride
number,
A mini bike on sidewalk.
Just a match like it is in number 2, where it
Oh,
like a
says
number
riding
two,
a
how it-
skateboard, scooter.
how it's stated. Yeah, no, sorry.
All right. Social districting. Well, it appears as if we no longer have support for that to be able to pass through council. I'm thinking that what we need to do on this, because of where we don't have the support, is with question of it, the social districting ordinance, along with the mixed drink referendum that we're having in November. They want to see how, basically, see how that works out before they go to it. They're afraid of people having liquor out too, on top of beer and wine. If that passes, which I'm pretty sure, by people I've talked to, I'm pretty sure it will, but you never know. If that passes, then we'll have to get more in definition with it. If it doesn't pass, we don't have to worry about it. And we can just go back to beer and wine and be just perfectly fine. If it does pass, we have to make sure we do that. So I would like somebody to make a motion to table that until.
I make a motion to table the social districting ordinance until such time as decided if the council wants us to look at it after our referendum.
I got a motion, need a second?
Second.
John, second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so table, social district for the time being. All right. Do I have John's? You should have John's nuisance ordinance. What he had, John did a great job going through everything in that. I don't think we need to talk about that right now as much as everybody just needs to review it, look over it. We can talk about that at our next meeting to see what ideas John came up with, which would be good to add to other ordinances or that we could bring up to the, to council about what we might be able to do to help some of these nuisances that we have or don't have. There was another one that was, around the corner from John's house. You saw that house with the, all the trash and the cars parked on the, is it on Alden or Conifer?
Conifer.
On Conifer. But they, apparently they've moved on.
Yeah.
The family moved on, so.
I got another nuisance issue, and I don't know what to do about it. I've been looking on, coming off of Carroll. Plantings by the owner and under control of the owner, overhanging public rights of way and preventing people from using public rights of way. We don't really know how to handle it. I got section 7, personal real property. It talks in here, any violation can be, will be abated by the city, period, but nobody, who's gonna pay for it? This has to do with trees overhanging 12 feet over road, 12 feet above travel portion of the street, 7 feet above the sidewalk. Street that goes out where the thing is in the middle of the island of the lake, right across from that.
With St. Charles.
St. Charles. Between the sidewalk and the curb, the guy has planted all kinds of trees in there. Those trees are now growing into
Are the trees or shrubs?
trees. They're growing into the roadway. And you can't use that full roadway anymore because of those trees. You can't use the sidewalk because of those trees.
Okay, well, that's,
So it's between the sidewalk and the street.
we should be able to restrict that. We already have something for that because
That's what I was gonna say, that's what
this kind of all started with that.
Isn't this the handicap thing where you have to have it clear? Part of that, or is that just side to side?
Well, we had an issue where a lady's, Leland cypresses have overgrown and blocked the sidewalk on Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on Carroll, where it was blocking the sidewalk. And she didn't want to cut them down or she didn't want to prune them back because she was afraid it was going to kill them. And they're going back and forth on the issue. There was another one we had over somewhere, I think on Author or somewhere Hoover or something like that. And the funny thing was, this whole thing started with somebody from the HOA coming into our meeting and asking us to do something about it because they couldn't do something about it the way it was. They didn't have anything to do with it. They asked us to do something about it. So we talked to them, and another one that we had, that lady just simply said she'd like to do something but couldn't afford it. Was that the way it went, Jim? That was,
Yeah, she wanted to do something, but she couldn't afford it,
Mhm.
then they were cut. But she didn't want us to cut them because she didn't want to harm the tree, but she can't overgrow them, that, but they were cut,
Mhm.
and then we went back to her and we said it wasn't cut enough, and then they cut.
They cut more, yeah.
More, if I remember correctly.
Then we had the other issue, another person had the same thing going on. We went and talked to him. He said, hey, fine, no problem, but get me a letter from the HOA saying that if it's bare there, they won't fine me and let it grow back in, and the HOA wouldn't give us that letter, which was really ironic because it all started from the HOA asking us to do something they couldn't
But
do.
we have that.
And we were trying to work with
We
them.
do have that situation again on Conifer.
Roger's house.
No, not Rogers House, there's another one, I don't even know, farther up,
You can't
further,
use Roger's sidewalk anymore.
yeah, you
It's all
can't use the
overgrown.
sidewalk in front of 7110 or 112, something,
Okay.
one of those,
That's what it is,
Trees
John's
come right out.
talking about.
So
can't use it. We got a number.
7110?
I think it's 7110 or 7112 Conifer. But this
It's
flooding,
not your next door neighbor, is it?
no,
I noticed their yard was pretty shabby today when I drove by.
yeah, I know.
Don't drive by my house.
But there's a number of
Did you
bushes.
get your fence straightened?
No, I'll see everybody tomorrow.
Are you getting that fixed or?
We're gonna try.
There's a number on Conifer, down by my section where those bushes are. There's one that's probably 40% onto the sidewalk, and I mean, they're just very wrong.
And you say Roger's house, you can't pass by there too? Okay.
Yep, so trees hanging down. Can't use sidewalk. That's crazy.
And you were talking about over here off, what, is that St. Charles, Lake Charles, whatever that street is across?
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph is right there at Lake Charles.
That's two there, though, there's two
The
streets.
one right
It's
across.
two.
It's that one, what is that?
That one.
That is Lake Charles Road.
Lake Charles Road.
So in Lake Charles, is that where it is,
Lake
John?
Charles Bay.
Lake
Or
Charles?
Lake Charles Road and Conifer.
Yeah, that corner.
It's been that way for a while.
It has.
All right, I'll see what we can put in motion with it, and we'll go from there with that.
You have to be careful saying trees hanging over the sidewalk, though. I mean, trees
You
hanging
gotta have
over the
pictures.
street or sidewalk.
We have it defined.
It is.
We've got it somewhere, I can't remember exactly where we put it, that's something we were.
But I can't cut the tree in front of my house because it doesn't belong to me.
Property under their control.
It belongs to the
That
village.
tree's not under your control.
We've told people they can cut the trees out.
So
Yeah, that's,
It's rotten, and when it falls, the
Yeah.
village can clean it up.
pretty much the theory on that is those have been, aged out, and they're done
It's
anyway,
dying.
so you can, yeah. I know there's a couple people that asked about that over the years, and they've said they can do it, so. All right, I'm gonna look into those houses y'all told us about and define that, we'll see. We'll put our ordinance to the test and see what happens.
I think it's there. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
it's there. It's just, it's gotta be followed to the order. I mean, it's fairly simple to me.
771C.
So I see in this Lucis thing, the first thing I look at, it talks about trailers, campers.
What John did on that one is used another town's nuisance ordinance and looked through it and saw what we didn't have covered in the nuisance ordinance. And you also went off of with the proposed HOA CCRs too, the ones that did not pass. And we looked at what kind of ordinances we already had between our general ordinance and the UDO that already covers that stuff anyway. And then we're gonna look to see what A, we needed to do, or B, if there's anything that we saw in that belongs into the UDO, bring that up to the planning board of things that maybe can be done from the UDO. John's was not necessarily as much of writing an ordinance right
Okay,
now
all right.
as it was for us to all have reference for this so that we can look into it and come up with other ideas. And I am going to distribute that to council too, to the,
Okay,
to the other.
because the other thing was signs, I mean, we can't dictate the signs in the yard, can we?
Well,
We
yeah,
do now.
We
Yeah.
do with,
I know the HOA can, but I don't know.
no, oh, yeah,
Okay.
we have political in the UDO.
Okay.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, so this is all of the things in the nuisance ordinance, these are the pieces that we do not have. Is that right? Like you took somebody else's nuisance ordinance and these, each individual piece is what we don't have in ours, in like in our ordinances already that we need to address, either in ours or in the, right?
This is from the CCNRs that failed, that did not get passed.
Okay,
Okay.
So.
so these could be addressed in ours potentially
And then
somewhere.
are they addressed in the UDO or our current ordinances?
Our general ordinance.
And they are
Mhm.
in one way or another.
Okay,
So do we need a separate nuisance ordinance to handle what we already have covered?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Our biggest thing that has to be done
Except
is,
for,
what we are restricting in an ordinance somewhere here or there, we gotta make sure we have a way of enforcement of it.
Right.
That's our biggest thing, that we have to make sure our enforcement's right. Like I said, we'll test this one and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, cause it even says in there that if the village has to pay to take care of it,
You're
that that
responsible.
goes to the owner of the home,
And Sheree will attach.
okay,
so.
okay.
Yep. All right. The item I added on there, park rental. We ended up with a situation inadvertently with the park this past weekend. They come back several months ago, a lady went in to see Sheree and was talking with her about renting the gazebo. Well, it turned into, she was renting the gazebo to rent the entire park, to have a, was it Independence Day for the Dominican Republic?
Yeah,
Or something where it was going to be an extremely large event. At first, we were told it would be like around 75 or 80 people, then it was, oh, it's probably gonna be 100, 150, then it was, could be as many as 200 people coming. So, she would,
and they're gonna add, and they added 3 food trucks.
food trucks, vendors, all kinds of stuff. Well, it got way out of hand.
Hmm.
And basically, I mean, for like $100, she was renting a whole park, you
I
know?
don't think it's that much, is it?
And it's not even that much, yeah, it was for 4 hours, so it might be a little bit more for that,
Yeah.
but I don't, you know, it was, long story short, there was nothing, we have no restrictions on anything like that. It's been kind of floated around some, that either council, or we should put a restriction somewhere, that council or, Parks and Rec has to approve something that is planned to have more than 30 or 50 attendees. I would like to put something saying that the council must approve any event that, is used, something with, the sale of items or something like that. Cause, I mean, she wanted to, one of the ways that she was financing this whole venture too was she was having other, she was gonna basically rent space to vendors. So basically subleasing our property is basically what it boiled down to. And we let the HOA do that for the fall festival, but that's for the HOA, and the money that the HOA gets out of that goes into the HOA fund for the village, you know, for the people of the village. They do have a person that they pay now to do it, rents the spaces out, so they don't quite get the money they used to out of that, but they don't do much. And then, you know, of course, we also have, you know, council approves this, you know, so that, but we also have the food trucks. You know, that's something, and that's not the HOA, that's Lori doing that all herself. And that's on her own, and there is something on that, council has approved that. I think we should probably have something where if any sale of any event requiring sales of, any event that will be selling or having sales or something of that way, there's other words to put in there, would have to be approved by council before.
So is there like an application or a thing?
There's an application for the gazebo. We
Okay.
don't rent the park out.
So, and I guess like that's the thing is ultimately, can you, with the application, like, can you list the requirements? And then, or the restrictions, like saying no more than this many people, you know, and ultimately, again, it can become a liability should you start having people doing vendors and things like that, that is not again, sponsored by the village or
I saw
whatever.
a bounce house out there the other day. I guess they rented the gazebo
Some,
and they put a bounce house out there.
yeah, that shouldn't have happened. Whenever we get any of those type of inflatables and all, Lori has to make sure there's insurance on
There's a big
it,
lot.
make sure they're tagged properly from the proper inspectors, all kind of, that should have never happened. But that's kind of what happens when you have things on Saturday and people aren't around to enforce anything on that. So, yes, I know what you're talking about. I saw pictures of that. That should not have happened. We had one day where, Mark called Lori and said, hey, the cones are out. It was on a Saturday, and he thought that she forgot to bring the cones up from the food truck Friday. But people rented the gazebo and set the cones out there and shut down the road so that the kids could play in the road there. And that's a road. I mean, it's not just, it's an actual road. So they can't do that. Lori had to go up there and get them, and they're like, oh, we put them out here so the kids could play. This is a road. It's not a park. So it's crazy what people do, but we need to define it a little bit better. This, like I said, I put it on there right now to get the wheels started turning.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, I'm gonna talk with Jeremy about Parks and Rec, discussing it next, maybe next Monday, correct, John?
The last Monday of the month.
Yes, next month, or next week.
Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask them to see what they think. I was gonna float a couple of those ideas through there and see what they say. And then we'll probably have to put that in the parks ordinance.
Yeah.
And,
It needs to be clear you only renting, it does say it on the application, you only renting the gazebo. I mean, so,
well, I mean, like we do with the golf cart, right? So with the application, you have the list of requirements, so that maybe that's what you do as well.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
because
the
I think,
application has to change too, yes, I agree with you.
I feel like that's gonna be kind of where the bulk of the information needs to be. And again, it's referenced in the ordinance, like,
And we could ask the attorney if we need to put it in an ordinance as well, or if it just has to be on the application.
yeah,
Could be a question
Yeah.
for him of what they want to do. The only thing I do know is that they're planning on doing something with it, because basically, what's happened now, the event apparently went on, I was out of town, went off without a hitch. Did you
it
say?
was not that many,
I was gonna say, the pictures I saw looked like there were probably about 45 people there.
there was,
So it didn't turn out as big. If there were 200 people there, I mean,
We were
everything
all
from parking
Yeah.
to trash.
there was nobody's parking in front of my house or anything, that's,
Yeah, if there was, well, they all had, they did get parking from the church. So I don't know how many cars were there, parked over there, but I mean, I gotta give it to the lady that put it off. I mean, we gave her a bunch of restrictions and she went through and she got every one of them. She went through and got it. Now she did change her story with us some, because we specifically asked about vendors and then, oh yeah, I forgot, I was gonna have a few vendors come into it. No, you're not selling anything out here too. And
I mean, just last August, not this August, last August, they had a wild wedding out there.
yeah,
I was just gonna bring that up, and it's very easy to get 200 people at a wedding. You can hold it in there.
we're not
As
saying that
long
we're
as you stay
gonna,
within the
I think it
boundaries
should
of.
come, if you're gonna have more than a certain number of people, it should come to council.
yeah, and we're not saying we were gonna restrict it. We just want, if you're gonna have a lot of people there, we wanna know if you got a plan to take care of things such as parking. Jim came up, that was Jim's thing, hey, you gotta figure out parking here, because there's not enough parking for 200 people coming.
That's.
It was also told, they were also told that they had to have 2, Union County deputies because of the amount of people they said that they were gonna have.
I don't think they have that, I didn't see deputies out there.
They did, they checked in, yeah.
I didn't see any out there, I kept looking.
One of the food trucks was Lori's Spy. So we got,
Good.
everything was checked.
I looked a couple times, it looked like a lot of people, and I was like, yeah, I knew we went somewhere, so.
It did, yeah, but there was no problems. She went through all the steps we asked her to go through and she did it without a problem. They got it. So it all worked out. But the problem is, have we set it up where, oh, we can rent the gazebo for 65, whatever it is to rent the
I had the whole
gazebo
park.
and have a big old party out there. And that's not what it's all for. And we told her many times too, that renting the gazebo is not renting the park. You can't rent the park. Even if you're having an event over there and you got stuff all over, you can't stop other people from going there.
right,
So that's where we sit right there. We have had other people come to us and ask us about closing off the road themselves and using the park themselves to do pop-up markets. and basically want to turn it into a flea market. We definitely don't want that going on. So that's where we sit right there. All right.
Do we need to define it for weddings, birthday parties, anniversaries, come up with a list like that? Or,
I think you
I don't
get
know.
too nitty gritty on
Yeah,
that.
if we go too far with
And
that,
then
then.
it's like,
oh,
okay,
you
well,
didn't have
how are
bar
we
mitzvah
gonna
there. You're against the
take
Jewish
care,
people.
yeah, right,
it needs to
you
be
know.
more generic.
yeah,
I mean, the main thing, like I said, is, X amount of people, and, council would have to approve anything over 40 or 50 people, expected attendance of 40 or 50 people. And of any, sales or.
Is there a purpose on the form when you read it?
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
purpose of
there's a person, the other thing is, they need to really stress in the office over there that you're renting a gazebo, not the park.
Mhm.
yeah.
You can't get a food truck on the gazebo.
No, so,
I think you ask the attorney, just get that clarification whether he wants something in formally in our ordinance or.
well,
I
I'm
was
gonna,
gonna add that, the thing about the ordinance is, it might be somebody from outside that's rented that wouldn't see the ordinance, right?
I'm gonna tell the Parks and Rec Commissioner that, that we recommended to go on to the application and ask the attorney, let him deal with that. And then if they want to put it, if he says that he's going to the ordinance, he can come back to us and we can talk. about
Okay,
it.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we get to council anyway.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Any other business that wants to discuss?
No,
We all said what we're doing now. Steve's gonna make us a couple little changes, correct?
I'll try to find it.
And then
It's been a
what was this about the definition?
You got
of
it.
commercial
You got it to
vehicle?
me again. 'Cause I
Yeah, but I don't think, I tried to change it here, I was like, I can't get into it, so maybe.
I told you it was the parking order, or I said parking the other day.
Yeah, I know, but I was just like, I won't correct you, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So in regards to this Travis Crawford AC truck, what is this about? With
Okay.
the definition of a motor or a commercial vehicle?
Well, again, I think we've already handled that with putting in there the section 20. Yes, the commercial vehicles as defined by section 20.
Mhm.
A lot of people think that just because a van or a car or a truck has a logo or a wrap on it that says a business's name, that, oh, that's commercial.
Okay.
And it's not, right? It's not, it has to fit
Gotcha.
those other parts there, so and there's always somebody that complains. I mean, there was a letter that was written to, can't remember if this was Dave that was still there, or when it was, when Jeremy first got into as the mayor, but somebody wrote a letter and sent in that, about the Morris Jenkins van that was parked up. There's a gentleman that works for Morris Jenkins that lives on Crest Circle right up there at basically right at the corner close to where Alden is, right? And you've seen it before, I've seen it there.
Yeah.
And somebody wrote a letter that, this is against the rules, and it's been here for blah, 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 blah. I don't know if somebody had an axe to grind with that guy or what, but it really wasn't against the rules.
Well, there is some neighborhoods that have HOAs where you can't park a vehicle with any identification like that on it, even in your
Yeah.
parks, even in your
In
driveway,
driveway,
right?
yeah, my sister's next door neighbor used to work for one of those utility locating companies, I think it was called Utility Quest.
Mhm.
The truck, it had a logo on the door, and he had to get, just white magnets, just plain white magnets that matched the truck, and put them on when he parked it there. Yeah, so.
That's the reason you see these lots where these people park their vehicles a lot of times. Just
Oh,
like in
yeah.
RV lots, there's lots
Oh,
up
yeah,
by
it's like-
Walmart where you park your vehicle in there. If it's
Yeah.
got Morris Jenkins on, because a lot of neighborhoods don't allow.
Yeah.
we had one vehicle that was parking up, Meeting Street here. People complaining about it was a van.
A white van comes and goes every day. Guy lives in the,
Yep.
he lives back there, I think, in the Garden District. Or he might live back behind the Mexican restaurant, whatever. He parks it there and takes it. He knows now that it's food truck Friday, so on Fridays he won't park it there. He's got a newer van now too. It's it was an older Econoline van, now it's one of the transit vans. But yeah, I've heard
There's
had a
no
few people
problem.
say something, but there's no problem with it or anything, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have problems with stuff like, people out there making a living on house parks.
It's parking space. I mean, it is a parking space, so.
registered, groups.
I've got down here, our next meeting's October 15th. We can go earlier or not if anybody wants. If, we can always see how this all goes with everything. And if we have to meet again, or if something comes up, council asks us for, we can do it again. Let's just pencil in October 15th right now.
When does the council meet?
When? Well, we're the second Tuesday.
Okay,
There could be a chance I won't make it on the 15th, but
There's a chance I may not be able to make it either, but
so
pencil.
we'll know this closer. That's the big tax.
so then do we wanna move it up? Or,
Well, I think, for me, it could be anywhere from the end of September to the middle of October. I mean, that's,
right,
I don't know yet where it's gonna be.
I know what you mean, Steve. That's not be my taxes.
Yeah, so I mean, I might be done come.
April 15th.
I'll know more about it that time.
April 15th is extension day.
yeah, just if we don't hit it that time, then you're getting close to the holidays.
We'll try. If not, we can, we can always change it. So if that's it, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody have a good evening. Thank you for coming out.